Let me ask you a question. When you fill out a form on a web page and hit the submit button, where does the data go? If you guessed a server, you're right. How about when you type a URL into your browser's address bar and hit enter? Where does the resulting web page come from? You're right again, a server. But what is a server exactly? By the end of this module, you'll be able to answer that question with confidence because you will have created one, many in fact. This is a huge milestone in your progress towards becoming a full stack web developer because you'll be able to code both the front and the back end of web applications. You will control the full stack. Let's talk about servers for a minute. Almost every web page you've ever opened in a browser came from a server somewhere on the internet. Over the past several weeks, as you developed your front end skills, you wrote code that talked to APIs on remote servers. Your code fetched data from these servers and then used the results to update your web page. You did this work on the client side of the client server model. In the client server model, a client such as your web browser makes an HTTP request to a remote server. It then patiently waits for a response. The server processes the client's request. At that point, the server will send a response to the client's request. Maybe it returns a static HTML page or a JPEG file, or perhaps it will compile complex JSON files from multiple database queries. The client knows nothing about the work the server does behind the scenes. It just waits. If all goes well, the server returns a result to the client. The client does whatever necessary with the response. The client then handles the response, often by displaying or updating a web page for the user. Of course, sometimes things just don't go well. If the server runs into a problem while processing the client's request, it will return an error instead of the requested data. That way, the client can gracefully handle the error and notify the user that something went wrong. Ever see one of those fancy 404 not found error pages when you try to visit a website? That's client code breaking the news to the user that the server couldn't find what the user asked for. In this module, you'll create a Node.js application that will use the Express.js NPM module to respond to the client's requests. By working with Express, you'll become intimately familiar with the work a server-side web application does. You'll learn how to handle client requests, how to return responses, and how to handle errors along the way. You'll also learn exactly what happens when a user submits a web form because you'll teach your server how to respond. I hope you're excited about this module and the opportunities it will open up for you. Though you could build a career entirely around the front-end development skills that we've gained already, adding back-end skills to your repertoire will help you stand out in the job market. Employers will know you're a flexible and well-rounded web developer who completely understands the full stack. Now let's go build a server.